How would you respond to somebody who claims to be atheist? I know of one particular person who claimed to be an atheist. He was a very smart doctor. He was a vascular surgeon. And he said, I don't have to believe anything. How would you respond to that?
Well, if he said to me, I don't have to believe anything, I would say, is that something you believe? Right? I mean, honestly, that's true. What do you mean you don't have to? But let's go a layer deeper. He's trying to say I don't have to believe anything religiously speaking, right? What I would say to that person is, you're absolutely right. You don't have to say place your faith in Christ, but it behooves you to do that because this question, the question of whether God exists or whether the Christian God exists, is the most important question that a thinking person will ever consider. And as C.S. Lewis once pointed out, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but it's the last thing it can be is moderately important. It cannot be only kind of important, right? Now, I think I heard under there a deeper question still, which might be the question that often gets asked in these Q&As, which is whether anybody is truly an atheist. Is that part of this discussion? I see someone sitting next to you nodding your head, so we'll go with that. Some people will ask me, a lot of times church people will say, based on Romans chapter 1, which talks about how the suppression of truth, how people that don't believe, like there in Romans 1 is talking about idolaters specifically. And the famous verse in Romans chapter 1, verse 20, where it says, the invisible things of God, his eternal power and divine nature, are clearly seen through what has been made, in other words, nature and creation, so that they are without excuse. Now, who's the they that are without excuse? Well, in Paul's case, he was talking about idolaters. But it works for atheism too. What he's saying is if you don't believe in one maker God, you don't have an excuse for not believing because there's ample evidence just in the creation that's all around you. And of course, we talked about that with the beginning of the universe tonight, didn't we? But some people will then ask, because that passage talks about the suppression of the truth in unrighteousness, doesn't that mean that even if someone says they're an atheist, they're not really an atheist? They're just lying to themselves and to others. Here's the problem, and first of all, if you say that to someone, I don't think you're going to get very far trying to reach them with the gospel, because even if you were right, you just sounded like an absolute jerk, okay? Secondly, I actually don't think it's necessarily the case that they're being disingenuous. I do believe that people that don't believe in the one true God are suppressing the truth or have suppressed the truth, because I believe God reveals himself in some way to everyone. However, willful disbelief is still disbelief. And we humans are good at lying to ourselves, aren't we? And we can convince ourselves of things. And so if I run into someone who was once claiming to be a Christian and now they claim to be an atheist and perhaps they've become an atheist popularizer, someone like maybe Richard Dawkins or the Christopher Hitchens I mentioned earlier, such a person is probably telling you the truth. They don't believe in God. It doesn't mean God didn't reveal it to them, and it doesn't mean they didn't suppress the truth, but they have come to believe the lie, basically, is what I'm saying. So, and I hope that's not personally offensive to any skeptics or atheists that may hear this. But good question that opened up a big can of worms, and I dove right in. Anybody else?